everybody. My name is Keely Spring. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist in the state of California and Wisconsin. And this is my podcast where I interview clinicians all across the country about the work that they do and how they do that work. And to that end, today I am happy to introduce everybody to Dr. Maness, who I met a couple weeks ago through a mutual contact of ours, AK. And we had a great conversation. And so we're here exploring your practice on the podcast now. So, to that end, would you mind kind of introducing yourself, your niche, what populations you serve, kind of the general broad strokes of the practice?
The general broad strokes. Okay. Well, I am Dr. Maness. I'm a clinical psychologist, and I'm physically located in Florida, but I have PsyPact authorization, which means that I can practice in many other states. So there's like 40 of them, so I'm not going to go through them all.
There.
But if you go to Psych, so I work with adults, generally high functioning adults. I hate that word high functioning, but who are stuck, feel stuck in long standing patterns of behavior.
Mhm.
I don't focus necessarily on symptoms. I like to look at kind of understanding the wound, where those symptoms are coming from.
Mhm.
And I believe that our patterns develop from that area. And so by um, looking at the protective function of those patterns, what they're trying to protect you from, that we can begin to kind of gently release them a little bit, step out of that shame and judgment piece. So it is, I don't believe that we are broken. I think that we are, that's kind of how I tend to.
Mhm. And when you say you work with individuals of a certain age or any age, or
I do. I work with primarily adults. So what I mean by that are individuals who are in their 20s and they're still figuring out their early 20s, kind of who I am and what I'm about.
Mhm.
There are some that within that age group who are really willing to do the depth work. And that's what I do, though, is I do the depth work. So oftentimes I see a lot of people in their mid 30s, 40s, CEOs, elite athletes, individuals in the entertainment industry, those individuals who have been solely focused for a long time on achieving a goal, and you reach a point in life where you're like, now what? Right? And so that's the group that I have the opportunity to work with.
Nice. And are you doing that mostly virtually or in person as well?
So I do it virtually, mostly because I talk to people at any given state. I see people from all over this beautiful country. And so I might be in Seattle in the morning and in Virginia in the afternoon. So
Mhm.
I do have an office in my home, but rarely do people actually come to my office to see me.
Yeah. That is one of the your license is less limited than mine in the that you are able to go across straight lines with your special thing that you were mentioning there, right? Versus mine, you have to be very, whatever state you're licensed in.
Yours is gonna get broader though, right? That's
So I hope
good.
so. They keep saying that though. We'll see. Um, the other thing that's interesting is I don't know, I just read this article yesterday that was talking about the DSM is getting an update. They're working on the next version of it, and they're actually trying to take into account where stuff comes from rather than just the symptoms, which kind of sounds a little bit like what you're talking about is like, these things have a cause or where they starting point and if we're just kind of treating the symptoms over here, we're not getting at like the root cause of what brought this on.
Exactly. Yeah. I think, a piece of that came from, well, I spent many years working in the correctional system, and that was because these individuals will continue to make the same mistakes over and over and over again, and then beat themselves, shame themselves as a result of it. And that's kind of where it led me. It's like, well, let's figure out why.
Yeah,
Why are you making these decisions? So, yeah.
these patterns are coming from somewhere.
Yes.
Well, that leads beautifully into how did you become a clinician? What was your journey to taking this path in your life?
You know, I'm curious. And I I noticed early on, and I started working as an individual very, very early at a very young age. And I'm always been curious about people. I like to watch people. I like to learn about people. And so I started to learn that people aren't broken. Many people are just surviving, trying to get through today. You know, my goal is to get through today. And once I get through today, then tomorrow I will get up and I will breathe in and out and I will put one foot in front of the other and I will until tomorrow. And that's really kind of I wanted to know why and how I can help. Right. Let me fix. I'm a people pleaser and a fixer. So I have to guard those pieces of myself very closely in the work that I do. But yeah. Yeah.
And how long did you work in the corrections, area?
You know, I worked in corrections and with immigration customs on and off for almost 15 years.
Wow.
So I go in and I do it for a while and then I get burnt out and I go do something else. So I mostly I would go do a lot of the social service, you know, the low fee community work for a while until I would burn out there, and then I would go to another, and I just kept moving around because I couldn't quite figure out where I fit,
Uh-huh.
right? And so, and at the same time, you still have to eat that pesky, you know, detail in the middle,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I think that does get lost with the helping professions, right? That I see this like on LinkedIn, for example. There's a lot of conversations going on right now about fees and costs and, you know, we do this work because we do want to help and we also have to survive. And
Yeah.
this is how we choose to kind of contribute while also making a living and an income. So there's this kind of delicate balance that has to happen.
It really is. It really is. It's very difficult.
Yeah,
And yeah.
sure, for sure. Well, so what do you like about the job that you do?
I love being able to, I get, okay, so I have the opportunity to walk with people
Mm,
while they become curious, stop judging and become curious and begin to look at themselves. The um this is a lot of people come to a therapist thinking we have all the answers. And you know what? I don't have all the answers. I don't even have all the answers for me. How in the world am I ever going to have the answers for someone else?
uh-huh.
Have I learned a lot? Yeah. Do I know a lot of skills? Yeah. But I am insatiably curious.
Mhm.
Why? Why? I used to drive my mother nuts. So I like to be present and help people learn to stop arguing, kind of with their inner world a little bit, and start leading with it. And I get to be with them, holding hands, so to speak, looking for the light bulb on the wall or the light switch on the wall in the dark room.
Mhm.
That's the awesome part of my job.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Get to be privy and to all the kind of human nature, all the different aspects of it and what goes on to it and the human in front of you and really kind of connecting and seeing their journey.
it's wonderful. It is. And being able to help people learn how to pursue joy,
Yeah.
the unadulterated pursuit of joy. That's what I like to focus on.
I like that framing. Okay, so what are some of the favorite modalities or ways in which you practice? Are there certain, kind of techniques or styles that you gravitate towards?
Yeah. So I am not an IFS, an interfamily system trained therapist. I have never been to their school is down the road. I'm still waiting to get an invitation to apply. So they're that busy. However, I had some supervision, you know, when I was in graduate school, I had some IFS leaning professors. I've done a lot of work. So I like to, rather than looking at you know, I believe in the whole, right? And kind of that existential view of the whole. And so by using that IFS, by looking at ourselves as a whole that is surrounded by protective factors that they were set in motion. We created them due to distress. And so they're there to protect us. And what we usually do as humans is we try to shame them or push them away, right? We don't want them around. However, when we stop and we look at that and we pair that with the values-oriented piece from acceptance commitment, and we say, you know what? I can recognize now that I'm engaging in this loop over here that's really unhelpful, and that's not who I want to be. This is who I want to be in my life. This is what I value. Sometimes it's as simple as saying, you know what? Why do I continue to draw the same people in my life? I say I want a life without drama, and yet I continue to surround myself with people who are drama filled. And so being able to step back and look at that using those ACT and IFS perspectives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting example you bring up there. That one does come up a lot. People will say like, I'm no drama. I don't get why. And it's like, well, there is something here that is drawing this in and welcoming it in some way, whether or not you're consciously, actively thinking it you are.
Exactly. And we do that. And so helping them learn that that's the best.
Yeah, for sure. So what does a typical session look like? Is there a typical session or is it, more organic or?
It's very organic. I always begin with, we always start with housekeeping.
Mm,
And I do that because I need to kind of frame where we're at. Otherwise, I get lost. So as I stated, I'm pretty curious. And so I just like a butterfly flit around in our conversation. And so I always start with the frame of is there any housework you need to do? Anything with scheduling or paperwork? Let's get the housework done first. And then we just talk. And we just talk.
mhm,
And it's very free flowing. It's very thoughtful. It's
mhm.
not a clinical process at all because I'm really not looking at symptoms. Sometimes I do, there's in some cases we have to look at symptomology. It's like bipolar disorder there really is there's a lot of research that says it's a sleep disorder, right?
Mhm.
The thing is that we've developed parts to protect ourselves due to the outcome of that and all of that kind of fractions aside. So it's more of that reflective conversation, and it might be talking about grandma's cracker recipe. I mean, but it's always ties back because it's always about us. It
Uh,
really is, right?
yeah. And what kind of matters, yeah,
Mm.
to us, what we value, what we put to from that ACT lens too, right? What are we valuing? What are we putting um some sort of, yeah, value onto in our life?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And kind of opening ourselves to them.
Yeah. So are there things that surprise you? I mean, you've been doing this for a little bit now. Are there things that still surprise you about the profession or, that you're, either professionally, like in the sessions or personally, sometimes, questions I get out in the world will surprise me or things like that. Is there anything that surprises you?
You know, I am frequently surprised at that sometimes I will tend to, in my mind, mentally limit how far a person can go.
Oh, interesting. Can you say more about that? Yeah.
So, I mean, that's just kind of one of the things that experience, that it's like, okay, because again, that business person has to step in, right? And so we're always looking for new people
Yeah.
because of matriculation. That's life.
Hmm.
So sometimes I'm like, when I meet with someone, oh, what a great guy, very interesting person. I just don't think he's going to be able to do it, but we'll see. And you know what? They just once they settle in, then they just dive in, and it's so wonderful to see that it's like again, I don't even have the answers for myself. How in the world could I have answers for you? And I'm so humbled. That's the thing is that I just love the fact that I'm routinely humbled by what I do.
Hmm. Hmm. I think that's an interesting point because I do think that we therapists are humans, and so we do have preconceived notions sometimes about certain things. Like I might bring up like a personality disorder or something like that. They tend to be a little bit longer, not a little bit, a lot longer of a treatment plan, and I know a lot of clinicians and talk to them, and I'm certainly been guilty of it myself that might limit the ability or how far you think that that person can come because the personality disorder just is so fundamental to who the person is. Like at the core there's this deep wounding that is just it takes a lot of time to be healed, and personality disorders for example are please, if you feel differently, let me know. But there's the observing ego, right? They're not able to see themselves as clearly. So part of our work is really helping them see themselves, build that awareness so that they can change. And like for example, I've worked with somebody with narcissistic personality disorder that I thought like, oh well, this isn't, where are we going to go with this? And then he was able to make some really meaningful changes and to like, evaluate his relationships and how he, and I thought, to your point, like, oh, I did not, I had totally underestimated this person's ability to change and want to change, because I had this kind of preconceived notion about, you know, that personality disorder. Sorry, my camera is zooming in and out as it goes.
I absolutely agree with you. I would say that one of the pieces that I like to add in, especially when we're looking at people with personality disorders, because everyone wants to talk about, oh, this person's narcissistic or this person's so borderline. First of all, clinically, that means something very, very different than the way that the greater populace uses it. But the second piece, I guess, that DSM part comes in, that at the root of all of that is deep hurt
Yeah.
and deep shame.
Mhm.
And when you make it okay for people to look at those parts of themselves, that there's no need, it's that was developed to protect you and to keep you safe. And it's no longer necessary. And so if we can take that power away from the view, I mean, that's that just, oh my Lord, that's an amazing thing to see. And you're right. So I started out working with violent men, right? And I love it. Because I think that what you're seeing is you're seeing that firefighter behavior, you're seeing that they got to push people away because I'm unsafe.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
For sure. It reminds me when I was getting my training, sorry, I got puppers in the background there, but when I was getting my training, I remember I took a domestic violence class, and one of the things that stood out was the instructor had she had a heart, like it was an art project, right? And so we all had to like fill in this heart with something. And then she showed us the difference between those who were the perpetrators of domestic violence versus the victims of it. And it was shocking how like the hearts of the perpetrators were broken and sad and there is like this kind of population that you may not feel sympathy for on the surface of it. But then
right.
you start to look at it, it's like, oh, they were wounded or they experienced this themselves when they were a child, and certainly not making excuses for it, and yet also
At the
have some
same time, it's very real. Yeah. And having compassion and empathy. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And thinking about that, Mel Robbins talks a lot about that too, about, most of the people that you work with are at the emotional age of 8.
Mm,
And that is the God's honest truth,
mm.
right? So when you're thinking about those wounds and that's a child, and that's how childhood behaves.
Yeah, for sure. I kind of love sometimes doing child work with people, especially people that don't expect it, because they'll be like, I'll have them bring in a picture of them as a child or whatever, and it can be really powerful to kind of connect with that and be like, oh gosh, what changed from there to there? Did anything? Am I still acting this way? Or,
Yeah, it's wonderful. It
yeah,
is.
for sure. I agree with you. Okay, are there things that you wish people knew or understood about therapy?
So many people really do. They think that therapy is about fixing yourself because you're broken.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's not. It's not about fixing yourself at all. It's about getting to know yourself and understanding yourself well enough to choose differently this time,
Hmm.
to choose to pursue. It's the pursuit of joy and saying, you know what, in the past, this is what I've chosen, and I'm going to choose this instead. So it's not about being broken. It's about making the decisions go from being unconscious and reactive
Hmm.
to making a decision that is good for you and that feels good for you and feels right for you.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
Now,
Yeah. I love that. It's like there's always room for change and action. It's just about choices that you make from here forward, right? You can't fix the things that happened in the past, but you can leverage what you learn and grow in a different way.
and that's the choice.
Yeah.
Choice always has an outcome, and if we think of it, just if we take the emotional power away from it, that's what really counts.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Totally agree. Okay, so final question in this kind of more clinical point area. Is there a tool or something that we could leave the audience that they could use or utilize that might be good for reflection or, that's something that you use with people all the time that people kind of find useful?
Sure. My favorite tool, I always begin with the ACT matrix. And
Okay.
what that matrix is that you begin with the things that you value. And so I would say that, we have responses to stressors. Everybody has stressors. And what stresses me today may not stress me in 5 years. However, I need to learn that, right? And so, but first, we decide, we use that ACT matrix to decide who we want to be. What kind of person do you want to be? What kind of person do you see yourself as?
Mhm.
So I have the ACT matrix that I use, and I also have a values sheet. In fact, you can put it in on the do it's a free sheet. It's like 6 pages or something with these columns down it. So I have people take and cut those out. I know it's a waste of paper, but I love this exercise. And then pick out your top 10
Mhm.
and you can paste them, create them, however you want to do on a board. Because if you're not used to looking and living a values-oriented lifestyle, you have to be remembered and being able to say, hey, wait a minute, that's not who I want to be. And so using that ACT matrix along with those values orientation is such a wonderful tool that we can do at home. We can
Mhm.
do it with ourselves all on our own,
Yeah.
right? But, you know,
Yeah, I think values work, it gets thrown around a lot, but I think it is such a valuable tool for values. But to your point, I always think, because I have a values worksheet that I do with people as well. And afterwards I'm like, okay, now your challenge is to find a way to make this top of mind. It could be a sticky note. I like your idea of the board that is like, kind of this vision board almost, but somewhere that it's top of mind so that you can, see it. I had one gentleman who's very creative, so he created I have them narrowed down to like top 4 or 5 that are their like kind of core, right? And he created a wheel with like a pie where there were 4 quadrants, and then he put an arrow that was movable and of
Oh,
which like value he was working on or wanted to keep a top of mind. But
that's a great idea.
brilliant.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
I think the only, so I'm going to have to add to it, I'm going to have to amend my response, Keely,
Sure.
because I also, one of the, and it's because I live by it, is, have you ever read Don Miguel's The Four Agreements?
No.
Oh, so I love the idea on the Four Agreements because it really does, it looks at socialization.
Mm.
And so when I was in the prison, I would buy these books from Amazon. I would buy them and I would give them to people to read.
Mhm.
I could never get them back. It was amazing how frequently my books would disappear. I should have bought stock in them. Anyway, it's the great thing about the Four Agreements is it's four simple rules to live by.
Mm.
Always be impeccable with your word in thought and in deed, right? So there's your values piece. Don't take anything personally because with most people, it was never about you anyway.
It's true.
Always do your best. And sometimes my best is only 70% because that's all the bandwidth I have. But I'm going to give it my best. And don't make assumptions.
Mhm.
Those are four seemingly easy, very, very difficult rules to live by because we have been socialized to not do those things.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Love it. Love it. I'm gonna look that one up.
Yeah, absolutely. You're going to enjoy it, I think. Yeah.
Sure. Okay, so thank you, Dr. Maness. That was our clinical portion. Are you ready to take the being seen questionnaire and be seen on more of a personal?
Yes, I am. I'm ready.
I like the enthusiasm. All right. Okay, so the first question is, what is something that's making you happy right now?
Honestly,
Mhm.
my heater.
I get it. I got one too.
Man, in the 30s here. No, you know what is making me happy right now is the fact that I am able to take the time I have chosen. Let me rephrase how I'm saying that. I need to say it the correct way, right? Not that there's good or bad, but there's more accurate. I'm choosing to focus my lifestyle towards objectives that bring me joy.
Mhm.
And so I that just makes me so happy to have, I'm old woman, so I love my routine. I like my routine. I like, my animals, my fish tanks. I've got new fish tanks going in right now. So I would say at the top of that right now would be my heater and my fish tanks, which
Nice.
I'm up to 4 now.
Oh, yeah, I see it. I see a little bit of one right behind you. Yeah, we have one fish tank, but the fish we have in there eats all the other fish. Anytime yeah, for years we've tried to, and this fish will not die. So we're just stuck with the one fish that hides all the time and eats anything else that we put in there. But it looks like you've got a bunch of different pretty fish.
Fish, yeah, yeah. But
Yeah.
this is for the ones that can't get along with the others.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's why you got the four tanks. They,
Right. These are the Charlie Browns of each of the tanks.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Are they freshwater or saltwater tanks?
I'm doing freshwater this time. I used to do saltwater,
Uh-huh.
but that's a lot of more. There's a lot of education right there. A lot of more work in that.
Fair. Yeah. Okay, what is your favorite app? Do you have a favorite app that you use?
Um, my fitness pal.
Okay.
I know it's crazy, but I get like really into the details. I'm always curious. And so my mom always said, Paula J, you're just so nosy. But so I like I had to think about it because I use Facebook, but not a lot. And I use my games app, but not a lot, and Audible a little. But I am on my Fitness Pal app 3 times a day. I like to look at, did I hit my protein goal yet? I'm still working on it, I might add. Um, so it's like I don't, many people, it's hard when you work with people who have eating disorders, right? Because they begin to focus on that narrowed focus piece. So I'm lucky in that I am not that way. I just want to hit these particular goals. Like, I'm going to hit that protein goal today. Do you know how many grams of protein I had today? My husband's like, who cares?
Like, I care. Love it. Okay. Um, okay, beach or mountains?
Oh gosh, that's hard. I grew up in the mountains. I grew up in the mountains of Colorado. In fact, I was born in a town that's smaller than most people. Well, they have a stoplight now, I think.
What
But
town was it, out of curiosity?
a little town called Meeker, Colorado, in the northwest corner. It's well off the beaten path. It's an old cattle town. In fact, I went to a 2-room schoolhouse. Anyway, that's a whole other story. Anyway, but since I've been an adult, since my mid-20s, I've lived at the beach.
Of
So can I have beach in the winter and mountains in the summer?
course you can. Yeah. There is no right or wrong or limit to this question answer.
Yeah, I don't like the cold. I want to avoid cold at all cost.
I get it. Yeah, I get it. I get it. I lived in Colorado. One of the things I got a master's in communication there and in Boulder. And what I loved though is like it would snow, but by the next day it's like warm again. So, Colorado is like such a you get best of both worlds. And it was something like 300 days a year or sunny or something like that. They had some crazy stats that, because you think of
Lots
it as
of sun.
very snowy and, but it's
Absolutely. Yeah. We used to have snow and because it was further up and further north as well. And so we would get like 9 months of winter and
uh,
snow.
yeah,
But since they've been getting less and less and less snow all the time.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I think we got more this year than they did.
Interesting. Yeah, I haven't been to Meeker, but I was curious because when I lived there, I went all around, tried all the cities everywhere I could find. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, what is one thing that movies never get right?
So many. Uh, I would say what a therapist does.
Yeah.
Right? They
Sorry.
never do.
No.
No. So they never get that right. That they always screw that up. I was starting to think about kind of coming from the work that I've done in in prison, the depth and breadth and how some of the awful things that humans can do. But as I age, so I grew up in the era where there was people who decided what you could watch on TV, like the morals people.
Oh,
There was swearing or not swearing. In fact, when I was growing up, the husband and wife were not allowed to share the same bed. They had to have twin beds. And so the Brady Bunch broke that rule with
oh,
Carol and Mike
interesting.
in the same bed. It was amazing those days. But the thing is that nowadays it goes far too far, I think.
Hmm.
But so I would say that on the other side of that, that they never get right what a therapist's job is and what we do and why we're doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
Because how does that make you feel is not this phrase I use really often at all.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a supervisor once tell me that feel is a four-letter word and I shouldn't use it ever. Kind of
Exactly.
stuck.
I love it. Yeah. Let's get into that four-letter word. Yeah.
Right. But yeah, I think, yeah, movies never get therapy, right? And even, I haven't watched, sometimes I have a hard time watching like documentaries or things about therapy just because it just feels too like A, it feels like work. B, I always am like, I'm like critiquing, like the stuff that's going on. And there's ones that like there was one that was came out like a couple years ago. I couldn't even I had clients who were like, "Oh, you should watch it." It was the Jonah Hill one, and then people were like, "Oh, you should watch it. It's great." And then like halfway through, I was like, "Okay, no, I can't. I can't. I don't, yeah, I can't do this." So I find those, I'm with you. I find it really hard it's always wrong. It's always like, or they're like dating their client or, like
Right.
egregious things that you're like, no, no.
That's
If you do that, you lose your license. So,
good. And isn't that crazy that that's still the number one reason that therapists lose their license?
is it
And
the number one? Interesting.
it's mind-boggling to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
good God.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I took a law and ethics course at the end of December, and it was looking at like the ways and people have lost their licensing and what they did. And yeah, there were a couple people that like moved in with their client or their client was the kid and they moved in with the parent and it was like, what? Why? Why did you ever think that was
Yeah.
it? It's mind-boggling. I didn't know it was the number one reason. I assumed here in California it was like drinking and driving because you see tons of those of people getting their license suspended or, here in California.
Right. For the professional. Yeah. So and so I need to date myself because that was the number one for a long time. But the fact that people still do it is mind-boggling. It's
I-
crazy to me.
yeah, yeah, I do not get it. I don't do not understand. Okay, what is the best way to relax for you?
I love to play computer games.
All right. Any favorites?
So I don't get to do it very often, but I used to love to play well, so I started playing Outward for a while. So they're like role-playing games, like
Oh, okay.
and and World of Warcraft. When I had my knee replaced, I was a World of Warcraft junkie. Like I would sit and play the game. I swear I had an addiction. So yeah. So it's kind of one of those all or none things for me.
Nice.
I love to relax playing games.
Nice. Yeah. Fair. Love it. They'll suck your life away though, to your point, right? Like, hours will go by and you're like, where did that time go?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
not helpful.
Okay, what about a dream trip location? Anywhere you want to go?
Yes, I want to go on it's like a 6 month cruise. I keep telling my husband, this is the reason you retired. Remember the travel thing, and that doesn't mean to Alabama. So if you fly in to Italy on the far side, and then you take this cruise, you go down around the boot, you come up, and then you go up, and then um, where is it that you end? You end up right, so I think it's in France. And you just take this wonderful several month long cruise that goes slow and you stop and you spend time here. Of course, it's like so far out of my budget that it will never achieve. And then the other one is the cruises down the rivers in
Oh,
Europe.
the, like
That
Rhine.
sounds like a blast.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, my husband's idea of vacationing is going to Alabama to Orange Beach or something.
I get it. But yeah, I've looked at some of those Viking cruises down those rivers, like the Danube or whatever, and you're like, oh, it just looks
Mm,
amazing.
that'd be wonderful. And there's no interior cabins. You've got beautiful view all the time. And it just seems to me like it would be the most relaxing thing. That is the most relaxing thing I've ever done was the cruise. We did go on a cruise.
Mhm.
That was like the funnest, most relaxing thing I've ever done in 5 days.
Fair. Okay, what advice would you give your younger self?
Faith. Maintain your faith because everything does come out in the wash. It all works out and you'll never have all the answers. Just maintain that faith. Stay grounded there.
Mm-hmm. Hmm. Love it. Okay, out of the four seasons, which is your favorite?
So I'm thinking it's either spring or fall. And I'm gonna have to go more spring because there's less cold.
Fair. Fair. Yeah. And there's blooming and kind of the
It's, in the summer, especially down here in Florida, there's a couple months where it's so hot and so humid that
mm,
like you go outside and it's miserable. But it's only for a minute, it doesn't last very long at all. But the leading up to it, where it's like it's nice and warm, but it's not over hot, the humidity's not through the roof. And then once the hot spell ends, then you kind of go into the fall too. And so there's just this tiny piece there in the middle where it's hard.
fair, fair. You like the bookends pieces.
I know, right?
Uh,
Yeah. I'm a middle person. I always love the middle of things.
Okay, we've got three more questions here. So, first one being, what would be the worst superhero power to have?
X-ray vision.
Okay, tell
It's
me
just
more.
something I am meant to see.
Love it. That's fair. I think they could all go wrong. So X-ray vision, certainly, yes. What is your favorite animal? Like an animal that resonates for you?
Well, I am torn between dogs and cats.
Hmm.
I used to rescue animals, although I do love goats and alpacas.
Ah,
It's always a toss-up with me, but I tend to lean more towards snuggles.
ah,
So, dogs and cats, and I'm not really particular because I had a few really big dogs that think they're lap dogs, right? So, I like, yeah, exactly. I like babies that love to snuggle.
yeah.
And of course, I don't have either of those right now.
Hmm.
So I'm being robbed, I think. I told my husband I need to go to the pound and get another one because nobody's snuggling me.
I get it. I get it. It's my husband and I were having this conversation recently about like the dog cat debate, and I grew up with both. My sister has both. We have both. And you get different things from them, but I've never really understood, like I'm just an animal person. I love they have
Animals.
different, yeah, pros and cons of them, certainly. But yeah, I just love animals. And so to your point, like I get different snuggles from the cat that I can kind of hold and cuddle with. And then, my 100-pound, lap dog that, wants to like
Yeah,
do the cuddling a little differently.
exactly. Because they get on your chest, you're like, I can't
Yeah.
breathe.
For sure. For sure. And he definitely doesn't know how big he is. So, you okay. So final question here. When you look back at your life,
Mhm.
what do you hope you'll be able to say about it?
I hope, I hope my life matters to someone.
Oh, oh, I felt that one. I felt that one. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate your time and talking to me. You are officially seen. And Dr. Maness, is there anything that we didn't talk about that you want people to know? I will include your information. I'll include, your website and all that kind of stuff of people being able to contact you. But is there anything that we didn't discuss that you want to make sure that people knew or were aware of?
Yeah, the only thing I would add is that the person that's sitting with you today is the person that I am. And I'm very grounded and I'm silly. And that's the therapist that I am. That it's not, so was I trained to use six-syllable words? Yes, I was. I don't see the use of them very darn often. But, I'm open and I'm welcoming and I look forward to meeting whoever is curious.
I love that answer. I love that answer. And I'm hopeful that this interview kind of showcases that because I do think you are very grounded and warm and come across, at least to me. I've enjoyed our conversation. So I appreciate your time and energy and willingness to even participate and do this with me. And, I look forward to continuing to connect with you.
I know, I'm so excited. I can't praise AK and EggMed enough for putting us together. That's just been a gift to me. So yeah, it's been awesome. Thank you so much, Keely.
My pleasure. All right. Thank you.
Uh-huh.